Good day, everyone, and welcome to the journey. I am Reverend Bobby, and today on the journey with us is Leroy Contee. We were buddies at St. Emma Military Academy, Powhatan, Virginia, 23139. How you doing, Leroy? How
Hey,
you
I'm doing
doing?
okay. I'm doing fine, man. How you doing?
Oh man, hanging in there for a dude. It's been a minute. And before we catch up, let's have the people catch up, making sure you subscribe to the channel. Gospel of Robert, capital GOSPELOF, capital ROBERT. It's at YouTube. And you may have to put the at sign in up front to get to the page to subscribe. So Leroy, give the people a little snippet on who you are and Miss Conti, boy Leroy, that kind of stuff.
Well, you know what? First of all, I'm happy to be here. It's been a long time since we've actually sat down and talked. So, to give you a little something about myself, or your audience a little something about myself, as you said before, you and I met at St. Emma Military Academy, and we graduated in the class of '70. That was a great class at that time, and from that point on, I went on to. I tried to go to college. That wasn't my thing. So I ended up going into the Marine Corps, and I spent the following 20 years in the Marine Corps, retiring as a gunnery sergeant. I was in the Marine Band that whole time while I was in the Marine Corps. During that stint in the Marine Corps, I ended up getting stationed in Hawaii. And once I got to Hawaii, I found out this is where I needed to be. And so, upon retiring in 1991, I then subsequently went into the Honolulu Police Department. And then from the police department, I found a calling there too, because it's about giving, it's about treating people right,
Mhm.
showing people that all police officers are not animals. That
Right.
there are people that are caring, and I enjoyed that. And I got a chance to teach at the academy, and I did quite a bit while I was in the police department. So I stayed there until 2008, and then once I retired from that, I've done many different things. Anything from I taught college. I was teaching criminal justice at one of the colleges here, and went on to finish up my bachelor's degree. I got my master's degree in forensic psychology. Just I just did a lot of things. Even to the point of being a funeral director. And if you notice, all of the things that I told you I've done basically dealing with people, helping people in one way or another. So
Well,
that's that's
I picked that up from all the things you said because that's what I do: help people, develop people, all those kinds of things. And how fulfilling has that been for you over the years?
my man. That's about the best thing I've ever done. It's for me. It's I don't want to say it's giving back, but for a lack of a better term, yeah, it has been me giving back to the community. But I think for me, it's just been fulfilling because I've seen people at their worst, and when I've seen people at their worst, it does me good. It makes me feel good when I can show them that there is a way to rise above. You don't have to rise high. All you got to do is just rise above just a little bit, and it makes me feel good. You know.
And what are some of the things you give them? Like, because a lot of times, and part of the reason I'm doing this is people don't have a lot of foundational stuff. They
Hmm.
don't have things to pull on to persevere and endure. And that's a big part of it in any experience, our experience especially. What would you
Right.
say to them to kind of juice them up so they can have some gumption when things come up against them?
Well, the first thing I'll tell them is what I've always told my students. I told people when I was at the police department. I even said it when I was in the Marine Corps, and that is failure to prepare is preparing to fail. Okay? Failure to prepare is preparing to fail. And when I say that, I don't mean that you have to actually go out and, gather all of your goods or gather all your knowledge and now you've become prepared. But the thought is, the mindset is you have to be prepared for every little thing that comes about. That way you don't get caught short. The other thing is that whenever, whenever you are down and out, my father used to tell me, when you're down and out, just look around because there's somebody that's worse off than you. So you're still blessed, you know? And so I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, no, no. Go ahead.
And I still try to tell people that no matter how bad it is, it could get worse, but you're still here. And you're here for a reason, you see, because although I'll be very honest with you, you know, I grew up in the church and I believe in the church, but I believe the church is in my heart. And many times I don't show up at the church, okay? But it's in my heart because this is how I treat people. So I tell them, you know, it's the little things that you do for individuals. It's the time that you give. A homeless person, you know, somebody who's really upset. You know, nobody wakes up in the morning and wants to fight somebody. Nobody.
Right, right.
There's a reason why. You know, there's a reason why. All you have to do is find that reason and help that person. And you know what? It's all gone. And I use that. Go ahead.
And helping them face the thing, because a lot of times, like you say, it's really nothing at all. How receptive are they to that when you attempt to do that most times?
For the most part, I think most of the time they're really receptive, and it also has to do with my tone of voice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because you can't go to somebody and say, "Hey, you know what? You know, you're screwing up, and you know it can be better. Just don't worry about it." You gotta let them know. You gotta make them feel. It's almost like for a lack of a better way to express this, Robert, I used to tell people, I said, you know, when I was teaching at Youth Challenge program, I used to tell the parents when they came down, because they would drop the kids off and, you know, they'd tell me, oh, my kid is unencourageable and I can't do this with them and they don't listen, yada, yada, yada. And when I talked to the parents, I said, did it ever occur to you that you didn't go about this the right way? And they would look at me kind of strange. And I would tell them, said, well, how many of you have pets? And, you know, almost everybody raised their hands. I said, you ever notice that when you come home, you see your dog or your cat and you say, oh, come here, Poopsie, you miss me. And, you know, I missed you all day. I've been gone all day. Then as soon as the child walks in, you say, hey, stupid, what are you doing? How come you weren't here? How come you didn't do this? We yell at a person that can talk back to us, but we cuddle those that can't talk to us. You see? So I would tell them, you know, it's your approach. It's how you speak to people. And so when I talk to people, even when I was a police officer, you know, I would say pull somebody over, or I'd go because of a complaint, and the individual would start yelling and screaming at me. I would just stand there and look at them, you know, because I have all day. I'd let them yell and scream because they need to get that out. Okay. Now, once they got it out, I would look at them and I'd say, now, did I yell at you?
Mm-hmm.
Did I approach you that way? And they would say, well, no. I said, well, you know, I gave you the respect when I came here. All you got to do is just give me a little bit. So I give the respect first, and usually it comes back tenfold.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, that's important, because people are people, and you know, the one thing I found is people want to be heard. They need to be heard. They need somebody to listen to them. And I found that once you listen to them, and as you said, they need to get that out, then you could actually help them. Even when I was working at IBM fixing typewriters and stuff, you go in, they'd be barga, barga, barga. And you put them on the clock because they weren't hollering at you. They was upset that they couldn't get their work done. Give them 5 minutes. How can I help you? You help them. They ready to buy you lunch and stuff.
Exactly.
How have you found that to work in your life once you do help them and do solve the problem?
It's the same thing. You know, when I've been able to help somebody, when I come back, they look at me and you know, it's through gratification that they tell me, oh, you know, we're so happy to see you. I'll tell you one of the most rewarding. I had two instances that two experiences that really I think about, and I always make known to other people. I'll tell them these two experiences. And
would you share them with us, please?
Yeah, yes. Okay, the first one had to do after I retired from the Marine Corps. In my tenure, while I was in the Marine Corps, I was stationed at 29 Palms, California, and while I was there, I was the drum major for that particular band. And I got a phone call one night that one of my troops, he was a corporal, one of my troops was having a domestic with his wife. And I went to the house, and lo and behold, this guy had pulled a gun on his wife. Okay. So I talked to him. I took the gun away from him. Of course, he got punished, but he still stayed in the Marine Corps. Okay. He ended up going to headquarters Marine Corps and becoming the drum major for the president's own. Okay. Now I won't give him his name. I won't give you his name, but
Right.
he became the drum major for the president's own. Well, he retired about 8 years ago. He retired, and I didn't go to the retirement. But according to a captain that I have worked with, the captain said when he gave his retirement speech, he said, "I want to thank a few people in my life who helped me." He said, obviously the first was his parents. The second was his wife that had been with his second wife, I guess that was. And he said, the third person I'd like to thank is Gunnery Sergeant Contee. He's been retired now. He says, had it not been for him, I would not be standing here right now. And I thought, this guy is talking about me. I'm nowhere near Washington, D.C. I'm in Hawaii. And he's thanking me in front of all these other people. And I thought, I did touch somebody in that particular instance, and I thought that was just tremendous. Okay. The second episode was when I was a police officer. And of course, I worked in an area where we had a lot of drug activity, a lot of recidivism amongst my criminals. Okay,
Mhm.
but no matter what the case was, whenever I responded, I always treated them with respect.
Mhm.
Even if I knew I had to arrest them,
Yeah.
I still treated them with respect. I never cursed at them. I never called them names. Even if I had to handcuff them, if I had to tussle with them, I would still make sure they were okay once I put the handcuffs on them and got them back up on their feet. Okay. But when I retired from the police department, these same criminals never saw me for over a year. And I happened to be in a store one time, and one of the guys looked at me. He says, Officer T, he says, I haven't seen you for a long time. And I said, man, I retired a year ago. And he says, you know what? You are the best officer we ever had over here. He says, you always treated us right. Even when we were doing wrong, he said, you
Mhm.
always made us feel like a human being. And those two particular instances made me feel really, really good. I knew I had touched somebody.
Mhm.
So,
How important is it for you to continue to attempt to make a difference in people's lives? I mean, it was done for us, number one. I
right.
know, but what drives you to continuously do that?
Uh, you know, that's a good question because I don't go out I don't go out with the mission of trying to do that.
You're
It
right.
it it just happens. I speak to everyone. If I see you, I don't care if you're sitting on the curb and have peed on yourself and whatever the case may be. I'll look at you and say, "Hey, how you doing, man?" Or "How you doing, young lady? How's everything going?" I'll address you. One of the things, even when I was a policeman, officers, my B partners used to tell me, "Well, don't touch that person's hand." But Robert, a person that's down in their luck, a person that's dirty and nasty, if I shook their hand and only touched it for 10 or 15 seconds, that 10 or 15 seconds meant more than anything in the whole world. You see, I can go back and wash my hands. Okay. I can wipe my hands off afterwards. Right. But that point, that one instance when I touched them, that made all the difference in the world. They became an equal to me, you see, versus me looking down at them, which is what a lot of people do. They look down at,
Mhm.
people who they have misfortune. And even, Robert, people have done some mean things to me too now. Don't get me
I
wrong.
know. I know.
Okay. But,
Well, how you get over that stuff?
I just tell myself, you know what? Again, my daddy used to tell me, you can kill a person with kindness. You see, I'm not going to stoop down to your level. So if you treat me bad, yes, I'm going to be hurt. Yes, I'm going to be upset. But if you turn around and talk to me the next day, I'll talk to you
Yeah.
I'll be I'll be cordial. I might
That,
not be as cordial as you might think I am, but I'm still cordial, you know?
well, that's
So
the thing, being cordial and not showing anything or holding anything, because it really only messes with us. It's
right.
not their blood pressure going up when we
Mhm.
all been out of shape. It's ours. And did a lot of this come from, okay, I'll say it, upbringing, the way you grew up and this?
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. When I grew up, you know, I grew up, well, we grew up in that era. We didn't curse in front of our adults. We didn't speak out of turn in front of adults. We did what we were told, even though we might not have liked it. We did it. Uh, we we had leaders. We had family. We sat down and had a meal. We're in a new age now. I mean, we're in this age where everything is technology. I mean, look at us. We're on technology right now. You know,
Right.
it's but we can at least talk. But you know, kids now they text. They
Uh-huh.
everything is they have no communicative skills because they don't know how. When we were growing up, look at St. Emma. If we got mad at somebody, you know, it might be a little pushing and shoving, but we ended up talking about it. We go on about the business. We good to go. Nobody pulled no guns. Nobody pulled no knives. Nobody did it. But we had family, and the family. Even if the person came to St. Emma came from a broken family, it became family once they got to St. Emma,
Mhm.
and that was
Mhm.
family. You see,
Mhm.
but nowadays there's nothing. What do the kids have to go to? You know, I mean, they can't read and write. You know, many of them can't read and write.
I
They
know.
can't they can't they can't spell. They can't do addition. You know, they don't know how to do anything but just talk what they think is what people do. And, you know, I don't know. It's sad, man.
But you're right. But it's like that. A friend of mine, she's a school psychologist. We were
Mm,
talking, and the same. It's the same things. I had to learn to read. Mom and Daddy were teachers, but
exactly.
it's a lot of stuff out here today. And if you don't have those basic skills,
Mm-mm.
then you talk about stuff like spatial skills and critical thinking. That's
Hmm.
just totally not even going to come into the arena of their life, and they miss out
Yep.
uh, on so much. And what are some of the things that, even at our stage in life, we could do to help with these things, you think?
Well, believe it or not, man, this is what one of the
I'm gonna
things I've
believe it
noticed.
because you say it. I'm gonna believe it.
One of the things I actually see nowadays is look at the school system, and we got a lot of educated older men now. Oh, and if I think if some of the older men our age or a little bit younger, I think if they just took a little time, went to a school, any
Mhm.
school,
Mhm.
went to the school and talked to the counselor and say, look, uh, I'm willing to give a little bit of my time to the school. Let me talk to some of the kids. Let them talk to me. Everything. Every, everybody treats everything with a liability. Well, I don't want you to talk because it might offend somebody. You know what? Let it be already. These kids need some leadership. I do a little security work, and the kids that used to come into the store uh, before I got there, the workers used to tell me, "Oh, they come in and just yelling and screaming and picking up stuff and throwing it." They don't do that when I'm there,
Right.
you know, because I demand respect. I tell them if you spill something, clean it up, you
Right.
know, and they do. But we as in our age, we just need to reach out to some of these young people. I mean, everybody's not Robert. Everybody's not a basketball player. Everybody's not a football player, and everybody's not a baseball player, and certainly everybody's not a rapper. Okay, so now we need to actually start telling some of these kids, hey, you can do some other things other than just put a little cash in your pocket because they believe that they got a lot of cash when they rap. Ain't no cash. That's nothing.
It's,
Yeah.
it's nothing. And one of the things I did school reform here for a while.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
Worked in the homeless ministry, all kind of stuff. The plethora of things.
Right.
But while I was doing school reform, when I would get a chance to talk to the kids, I'd tell them it's okay to do good. It's
Hmm.
okay to excel. Don't be worried so much about what your boys call you and stuff, because later on in life, you're going to see the value of doing that and always trying to uplift them and give them something. Even in what I do now, a friend of mine, she was doing a cancer walk. She said, "When I met you, Reverend Bobby, you just kept feeding life into me,
Hmm.
uplifting me, and that kind of stuff." And I know you've seen it. And how important is that to people and in people's lives, especially when they down and out a little bit and need some help?
It's very important. It's very important, man. I mean, when you see somebody down and out, there's more to that story than just what comes out their mouth.
Hmm.
Sometimes you have to prod them. You have to go a little deeper because it's not just that little thing. If somebody says, "Well, I don't have any money to buy any food." Okay, fine. That's the immediate problem.
Right.
But the long problem is, were you able to get a job? And if you weren't, how come? What's the reasoning behind that? It could be I don't have a computer to fill out an application. It could be I don't know how. I don't have
I don't know how
an
to fill
application.
out an app.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Or it could be the fact of I didn't think that I could do this particular job. Well, you know what? I tell people you never know until you try.
Hmm.
And I've done many different jobs just to try them out, and been happy at it. But when somebody would tell me, well, it's hard getting a job like this. No, it's not. You have to sell yourself, not sell your soul, sell yourself. You got to make people believe that you know what you're going to be able to do. You know, so
And you got to have that confidence in yourself too.
exactly,
To do a lot of these things,
exactly.
to put yourself out there, to be, oh, here it comes the R word, because I've seen a whole lot of time. People don't want to be responsible. We came up with responsibilities. Daddy
Exactly.
was like, always look out for your sisters, even when they act crazy, you
Hmm.
know. Um, what happened?
Hmm. Hey, responsibility was one of those things. If you weren't responsible, in Hawaii they use the term you get some cracks. See, a few cracks wasn't gonna hurt you coming from it was cracks with love, you know.
Yeah,
But it wasn't abuse. Well, okay, sometimes maybe you can't. Somebody might have
you
went
get them
overboard, but
abusive things once in a while.
yeah,
Yeah,
once in a while. But for the most part, it was either that look or that smack. That put you back on the track. That ain't hurt your pride, but that's about it. You know? So I'm not
like my,
saying people. I'm not saying people got to go out and be smacking the kids. I'm just saying sometimes it's like a puppy. Or getting an animal. You don't get a dog when it's fully grown because it's hard to train. You get them when they're a puppy. Same thing with the kid. You got the kid when it's a puppy. When the kid is small, you train the kid there. This stuff of they don't understand. And please take the phones out these 3, 4, 5. There's no reason for a elementary kid to have a phone in their hand. No reason.
yeah, I know, man. It's ridiculous. But you
None.
were talking about the pop and the look. One day, my baby girl, me and her was talking or something, and she was doing something, and all of a sudden, man, she just busted out, boo. And
Hmm.
I'm like, Gian, baby, what's the matter? You looked at me. But
Yeah.
but that to say, that's what we had when we were younger. They look at us, we stopped cutting the food. But we also
Hmm.
had a lot of things like I was always in stuff, playing baseball for the police department, Boy Scouts,
Hmm.
organized things where you learn discipline, number one,
Right. Right.
and to work as a team. And a
Right.
lot of that stuff doesn't exist anymore, and it's really had an effect on our children. And
It really has, because you something as simple as physical education. You
Mm.
learn to you if you weren't a so-called jock in school, at least physical education, you still had teams. You learned to be a team player. You see, in certain events. Yeah, there's no more. There's no more physical education. There's no more music classes. There's no
Right.
more uh, uh, home ec
The
classes.
the
And
arts classes
the arts is, yeah,
where you made
nothing.
stuff with what was that stuff with flour and stuff, paper
Yeah,
mache stuff and all that.
yeah. There's nothing. There's nothing for them to do. Okay, and everybody says, well, we need to train them for the real world. They ain't even learned the world. They don't even know what the world is yet. You know,
No,
it's
Leroy, I think people get a little bit off with that with the real world because these are things, the arts, the music, the
mhm.
intrinsic skills, the appreciations for these types of things that help them do well in the real world. And then you strip all these things away and expect these super performance people in one thing or another that aren't well-rounded people and hasn't done society any good in any manner. But as we come to close to the end of our journey today,
Mm.
what would you say to people if they was in a sticky spot, some quicksand, and needed
Mhm.
to do something to get themselves out of it? What would you say to them?
I tell them stop. If they were stuck in quicksand, I tell them stop moving first. Stop moving. Disengage the mouth. Engage the brain. Okay. Think for a minute. There's a solution. There's always a solution. You just have to think about it. Don't act first and then think. Think first and then react. That's the biggest thing. You need to think about things first.
Mhm.
Somebody calls you a name. You know what? Ask yourself why. What was their reasoning? You know, don't
Mhm.
react because it didn't take any skin off your body. You know,
Mhm.
if you're having money problems, think about what you did. Why did you have money problems? Did you go out and buy something that you couldn't afford? Do you really need that Mercedes when a Nissan can take you the same spot? You know, did you need to spend a whole bunch of money on jewelry when in fact you can only wear it at certain places? Think before you react. That's what I would tell them. Don't
Mhm.
don't do all this trying to impress, because the only person you need to impress is yourself, nobody else. Okay? That's it,
That's a good one. And I enjoyed you being here. You gonna come
man.
back and do another one?
If you invite me, I most certainly will, because this, believe it or not, makes me feel good. Knowing that I can share some of my thoughts to other people other than the people I deal with here in Hawaii. You know, and if your listeners, if any of them come to Hawaii, by all means, Robert, tell them you got a boy. Your boy lives here. Give him my number. Let me know when they're coming. I will make sure if I'm still here. Well, if I'm still breathing and walking, they'll have my undivided attention, and I'll take them to spots where they ain't got to do that tourist thing. I'll take them to the real deal. Okay.
And I'll do that. And while we're getting ready to go, everybody remember, subscribe to the channel, Gospel of Robert, capital GOSPELOF, capital ROBERT. Might have to put the at sign in front of it when you get to YouTube to get to the page. Leroy, God bless you. Thank you, man.
Thank you, my
And
brother. You take care of yourself.
I will. And from Leroy and myself, as you continue on your journey, we wish, we pray, we ask, and we demand from the universe that we all journey well from here. Peace.
Peace out.